Have you ever looked at the headlines and just felt overwhelmed? Like it's all just a chaotic jumble of unrelated crises happening all at once? Well, that's what we're going to do today. We're going to connect the dots and trace those hidden threads that link a war in the Middle East, a security alert in Canada, the stock market, and yeah, even the world of sports. And you know what? That's not an exaggeration. This one line really just captures the whole feeling of this morning, doesn't it? It feels like the ground is shifting right under our feet, and every single piece of news feels urgent, important, and somehow connected. So let's start with a hard number, 150. That is the number of U.S. troops reportedly wounded in the ongoing conflict with Iran. Now, this isn't just some statistic on a page. It's the very real human cost of a conflict that's about to send shockwaves across the entire planet.
And then, just as that news is breaking, boom, this happens. We're talking thousands of miles away from the actual fighting, and suddenly there are shots fired in Toronto. All of a sudden, a war that felt a world away, well, it doesn't feel so distant anymore, does it? This is the first ripple, and it puts everyone on notice.
So what is the stone that got dropped in the pond to cause all these ripples? Well, it all circles back to one central, massive event, that rapidly escalating military campaign in the Middle East. Let's get right to it.
And there it is, a single, incredibly powerful statement coming out of the White House. The president suggests the war is almost over. Now, whether that's actually true or not is a whole other story. But the impact of those words, it was immediate and it was global. This one statement changes the entire game for the day. Okay, so what's really going on behind the president's words? You have the military stats on one side, over 3,000 targets hit. On the other, you've got that human cost we just talked about. But the really critical piece here is this Hormuz Gambit, a plan to control the world's most important oil artery. This isn't just about a regional fight. This is about controlling the flow of energy for the entire globe. So let's track that first major ripple as it spreads out, because the tension in the Strait of Hormuz, well, it doesn't just stay there. It travels, and its first major stop is that consulate in Toronto. The front line is now, in a very real sense, right at our front door.
And get this, Canadian authorities are not calling this a random shooting. They've officially labeled it a national security incident. And that wording, that's super important. It's official speak for, we believe this is directly connected to bigger world events. It confirms that world leaders see a direct line between the war and this incident in a major Western city.
Right. So if a political statement can trigger a security incident, you can absolutely bet it's going to rock the economy. The next ripple, it's always about the money. Let's follow that trail. It seems kind of dramatic, doesn't it? I mean, how can a few words about the potential end to a war cause investors to move billions and billions of dollars in just a matter of minutes? And this chart, it just lays it all out perfectly. Look at this chain reaction. The instant the president signals the war might end, bam, crude oil prices plummet by 12%. Investors, sensing a shift, start pulling their money out of that volatile energy sector and rotating it back into tech, so an AI giant like NVIDIA jumps almost 3%. But then Tesla, which depends on stable global supply chains, it takes a hit. It's a perfect, real-time example of the ripple effect.
So here's the really crucial takeaway from all this. The chaos from the conflict actually speeds up a trend that's already underway, the big global switch to new forms of energy. With oil prices going haywire, investors are not just looking for a temporary safe place for their money, they're looking for the future. All of a sudden, a breakthrough in AI-powered batteries isn't just some cool tech news. It's seen as a direct way to protect against this kind of geopolitical risk. It's a potential solution to a crisis that's rooted in fossil fuels.
But you know, it's not just the financial markets that react to all this global tension. The market for our attention also shifts, and it shifts dramatically. When the headlines are this heavy, we all start looking for an outlet, for some kind of powerful distraction. It's a totally fair question, right? When you're faced with all this overwhelming global tension, where does our collective mind go? Well, very often it goes to the world of sports, where the stakes feel incredibly high, but the consequences aren't actually life and death.
So check out this number, 131 crore rupees. That's over 15 million US dollars. It's the massive prize money the Indian Cricket Board just announced for its T20 World Cup champions. It's this huge moment of national celebration, and it's a powerful reminder that life and competition and joy, they all keep going, even on a day filled with intense global anxiety.
And this quote just drives that point right home.
There were all these rumors swirling that the conflict in Iran could maybe postpone the next FIFA World Cup, and officials just shut it down with this one definitive line. Some things, they're basically arguing, just have too much momentum. The event is too big to fail. It's just a fascinating contrast to the fragility we're seeing everywhere else.
Okay, so we've connected a war to security, to markets, to tech, and to sports. But so what? Why does doing all of this actually matter? What's the real value in turning all this chaos into one clear, connected story?
Well, the source material itself kind of gives us a clue. It compares those really deep dive articles with these quick global briefs. In our totally overloaded world, being able to quickly get situational awareness, to see all the connections in just a couple of minutes, that's a superpower. It helps us understand what's happening without getting totally bogged down or burned out.
And you can literally see this happening in real time. Just look at what people are searching for online today. They're not just looking at one thing in isolation. People are actively trying to connect these dots themselves. From the war, to the price of oil, to that shooting, to the new tech solution, this is the story of the day told right through our search bars. And so, what it all boils down to is this. Today isn't just another chaotic news day. As the source concludes, we are very likely witnessing something much, much bigger. A fundamental, historic reshuffling of global power, of technology, and of our priorities. And these ripples, they're really just beginning. So that kind of leaves us with one final thought. Now that you can see how one single event can send ripples out that touch absolutely everything, the question is, in this world of constant ripples, which connection are you going to be watching for tomorrow?